So it was a
Yes,
very
sir.
long question. So what's the essence of the question that you're asking?
The essence of the question is why aren't more people participating in something that helps them build generational wealth, help them uh, better their lives and make better benefits for the service disabled veteran community.
Well, I think that the need for a visual demonstration of participation is belying the fact that people may be participating in their own way. And to say that another way, I've been around this game long enough to know that people lurk and learn these days. They watch this information and then they will utilize YouTube University or their best AI source to try to see if they can figure it out themselves. And so there's a lot of lurking and learning that's going on under the surface,
Mm-hmm.
and people are hoping that they can save a few pennies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And find their way to the solutions that they hear me espousing. So I believe that there may be that kind of behavior going on. They're actually trying to figure it out because they have all of this free information that's purported to be available to them from the federal government, right? Whether it's the SCORE or the Apex or Small Business Development Center. So I believe that there are people that are out there actively engaged in trying to figure it out. So don't perceive uh, the lack of direct joining in the um, Elite Service Disabled Veteran Network New York, or the lack of participation in quantity in the ability to movement as an indication of a lack of engagement. They're engaged.
Now you said something though that you said they're trying to figure it out. That's the thing is like why are you trying to figure out when it's already been a cleared pathway that shows that you don't have to try to figure it out. You just need to know exactly the blueprint that you need, that the exact blueprint that has already been proven. So I guess that's where the confusion. I know it's SCORE, Apex, but I would ask the question is, and I don't know the statistics to it, but how much of that actually was beneficial in regards to them going through SBA? I mean, going through SCORE, going through those other organizations. Because I could say personally myself, I went through those organizations, and I had for example, in even learning that that wasn't the appropriate way to go about capturing contracts in the most efficient way, but having a contract that was coming up for 2 months that was a RFP, and then I reach out to the Apex Accelerator 2 months before, and I didn't get no response on the email about a requirement that, from my understanding, Apex is supposed to help you navigate. So I'm guessing my question is that are we not just doing the same? Are we not just doing a cycle of insanity?
Yeah. Again, I think that the question is, whether or not these other resources, like the small business development centers, the woman-owned business centers, the veteran-owned business centers, Apex, yada yada yada, whether or not they are effective in moving the needle in government contracting for small businesses. And I don't believe that there has ever been a comprehensive study of the official channels and their contributions to producing the growth in government contracting and the unofficial channels. Right. I don't think anyone has ever really, juxtaposed the work that the small business task forces within the um, um, uh, preference communities, whether it be the Hub Zone Task Force or the Veteran Task Force under the American Legion, how they have contributed to the movement and the contracting performance for their constituents. No one has done a comprehensive study to say that this one or that one has been more effective than the other. My contribution to this was to popularize joint venturing as an enabler for small businesses that didn't have capability and capacity. And so that was a contribution that created a rising tide across all preference groups, because although it was there in the Code of Federal Regulations, it wasn't liberally used. Once it became liberally used, businesses that were kind of locked outside of the procurement pearly gates found a key, right, to get the gates open, to get on the other side with capability and capacity and past performance. And so I said all of that to say that it takes all of those contributions to make the bouillabaisse. Mm-hmm. But for those of you who wear my social uniform and are interested in a advantage that is proven, I think what Mr. Hill is saying to you is that our program has over 150 billion, depending on what community you listen to, or $300 billion worth of past performance. And we have a system that can't not work if you don't work it, and we're making it available to you. And so if you're out there and you're looking for that lane of success, or how did my man used to say that back in the day? I'm quoting the judge from one of those shows I used to watch back in the day, about people out there searching for the lane of success while being chauffeured by failure. If you want to get off of that continuum and get yourself into a community of practice that has proven results, this is it. And we beg you to engage.
Yes, sir. Now, as you were saying that, and you were saying that, you don't believe that nobody has ever did a comparison from, the VSOs or the organization that specialize in preferences versus the free government resources. And then I look up and it says time for a better believable dream. My question is it time for a paradigm shift, so we can stop this cycle of insanity, that we, change things, because we have the ability to change these programs that make it robust and beneficial to us. Is it time for us to have that paradigm shift?
It's past time for us to have that paradigm shift, right? I mean, if you look at the, nature of the communities that you've come from, and then you look at the real conditions of the communities that you've aspired to, they're all experiencing the same economic downturn. They're all experiencing the same economic hurt locker. And so as the vice tightens, right, we're all going to have a collective yell about. And so now I think it is time for us to kind of reimagine the existence that we have, where we're talking about an environment where everybody is equally and equitably taken care of. Everybody is equally and equitably given an opportunity to participate in the American dream. And for people who wear my social uniform, we're in a unique season, a unique point in time, because the government has created a window of opportunity where you can take settled law and use it as a generational wealth capturing agent, and utilize that wealth as a self-determining enabler for you and your community. And that's what we promote under the ability to movement. And that's what we are asking you guys to recognize, that you have the power to participate in.
Yes, sir. Now, you mentioned you mentioned earlier about your legacy with popularizing and pioneering joint venture for the small business community. then we have $1.3 trillion in contracts, federal contracts, and the fact that just connecting the dots. Simply put, we can partner together with other organizations that allows us to capture that $1.3 trillion in federal contracts. And a lot of people don't understand that. Now, I want to connect this to the messaging that we've been pushing with regentrification, or in simple terms, guys, being able to revitalize your community, refurbish your community, and make it in the way you envision it. But it's something that, I feel maybe, and you could calibrate this for me, but I feel it's I won't say segregation between our community. I mean, it's a gap in the people who already been successful and made it out of there versus the people who are still left behind. And I look at things like real life things like Nipsey Hussle. We can look at Nipsey Hussle. His whole thing was pouring into his community and revitalizing his community and bringing more opportunities for community. But at the end of the day, he was unalived by somebody from his community while he was in his community. So, and I think I look at things like that, and then it makes me ask the question: Does that create hesitation for the people who already succeeded and made it out to even want to go back, because you risk those type of things where individuals like me and yourself, we have family, so we're the head of our family, so if we get taken out, I'm not saying trust funds and life insurance and all that, but the fact of the matter is that if we're risking ourselves to potentially
help. Young man, let me stop you, because you said a couple of things that are very confusing to me. Okay. And twice you defined leaving the community as success, right? They have successfully left the community, right? Mm-hmm. And I would disabuse you of the idea that integration, the pathway of integration that caused the most successful in our urban communities to leave, I would disabuse you of the idea that was a good thing for those communities. The second thing that I would disabuse you of is the idea that the employment opportunities that they got, which is not wealth creation, was success, right? I believe that was just a movement of buying power out of our communities into other communities. And so if we're going to have these conversations in earnest, right, in point of fact, we got to rightly divide the truth, right? It didn't help those people that were the most professional in our communities back in the day to go move from a community that adored them, that reveled in their existence, to a community that disdained them, right? And to have to fight those kinds of battles, right? And so if we want to have a good, clear understanding, you brought Brother Nipsey Hussle into the discussion about the "you are here" point, and how we can have people that came from his community pulling contracts for the man on the man, right? We got to have a real honest discourse about how we got off track so that we can embrace the ideation of a better believable dream that will get us back on track. And the better believable dream that I tend to promote is not the stuff and ideas of myths and legends, right? The better believable dream that I'm talking about is the stuff that's based on strategy, right? It's the stuff that creates immovable, irreversible advantages, right? So we're not looking for a dream that creates an opportunity for me to be the manager in your shop. We're talking about better believable dreams that allow us to be the lenders and not the borrowers, right? The equity owners, right, that are delivering shares into the market square, as opposed to, you know, those that are being hustled by the new NASDAQ or mutual fund hustle. So in our better believable dream, we're talking about communities that flourish because of ideals and philosophies that are built on human foundations.
Mm-hmm. Now you said something strategy. Do you believe that's that was the missing ingredient, that we weren't moving, we typically don't move with strategy? Was that the missing ingredient? We get money, then we think, okay, yeah, we could just build this and then employ some people. Was the strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we've got the lessons that have come from the bait and switch, whether it came from the bait and switch that occurred under the covenant of July 9th, 1869, I believe that was, which ratified the 14th Amendment and created things like the Freeman Bureau that ultimately was usurped, right? These are all a part of the hindsight of history that we have the ability to look at as we're planning today's strategy, right? And so the idea that was bought into, like one of integration, right? That separate but equal kinds of concepts were subordinate to. We can look back at those in hindsight today and recognize that there was no wisdom. There was no strategic wisdom in those strategies because they didn't produce the optimum outcome for our nation. And for us not to grow to a place where we could be okay with there being a Chinatown, with us being okay with there being a African American town, we be okay with there being a Rosewood, we'd be okay with there being a Greenwood, that we could share cultural differences across communities, right? The fact that the history that we have as a nation suggests that we did not effectively pass through that portal opens the door to saying we need to reconstitute those portals, but with a different level of consideration, a different level of consideration for the economic, a different level of consideration for the political requirements, a different level of consideration for the security requirements, a different level of consideration for the healthcare requirements, like those that are espoused in Dr. Claude Anderson's powernomics system. And so at the end of the day, I think that what we need to do is, as we look to this better believable dream, we got to rightly divide the things that have happened in the past so that we don't continue this cycle of insanity.
Yeah. Now, and with Dr. Claude's Powernomics Foundation or blueprint, he labeled economics as the foundation. And I believe you used the saying, the one was the same with the gold, the one with the gold. Essentially, the one who has the money is the one who's in power.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that, you know, evident in the society that we're in right now, right? You know, we are in a golden rule society, right? And if you're not paying attention, right, the sovereign oligarchs in this country, right, the ones that have the money, are actually dictating the political and social direction of the nation. And so we have to take that into consideration, right, as we are looking at some of the economic, some of the political, some of the security challenges that we're facing. We, the people, are less important than one man who can spend $250 million buying the presidency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so and this goes back to what I was saying. What the gap, the timing in regards to the people who already got wealth that's in control and calling the shots versus the regular everyday citizen who's looking to aspire to get there. My thing is it a time thing? Like, it's not enough time for us to close the gap between the wealthy, the elite, and the regular people, for the people who actually care to be able to take control? Or is it doing both, being able to build the wealth while also reaching out to Congress and being involved in politics? Is it them doing both things at the same time, or does it have to be, we got to get the money first and then we could focus on everything else to make things more equal?
I'm not following the question. Like, okay. What question are you asking?
The question I'm asking is it the getting the money first is just the core thing that allows us to be able to make things more equitable, or is it getting the money while also being involved in the politics of it, meaning being able to reach out to your Congress and getting more people involved and voting?
As I understand it, based on the system that Dr. Anderson has laid out, the most important foundation is economic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Going back to the golden rule, he who has the gold rules. And so, at the end of the day, if you've got the economic foundation, all of those other things can be acquired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the hyper focus needs to be right now. The hyper focus needs to be on amassing enough wealth so that you can self-determine in whatever way you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do people, and what I'm gathering just from everything that we talk about, and that the most important thing is or not one of the most important thing, but one of the most important things is collaboration. Rather that's the veteran collaborating with a bigger organization to get the job done in federal contracting, or whether that's a regular civilian collaborating with a veteran that gives them that golden ticket to then go after federal contract opportunity. It seems like the key thing is that a willingness to collaborate is essentially a foundation in helping building generational wealth.
It's not a willingness to collaborate. It's an understanding of the power of collaboration, right? Because in the point of fact, in today's environment, and I heard the president of the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce say this recently about the ethnic entrepreneurial community. He said that the ethnic entrepreneurial environment is not made up of mom and pop businesses. That environment, he said, is made up of mom or pop businesses, right? These are mostly one-man shops. I mean, that's the vast majority of ethnic businesses in the minority community. They're one-man shops that are trying to grow to the next level. And the reason for that is because most of these individuals are still first-generation entrepreneurs. In 2026, we have a huge population of first-generation entrepreneurs that are wearing my social uniform. And so if you are talking about, risking your limited resources on a wealth building strategy, right? The unwieldy space of entrepreneurialism is very, very challenging unless you take one of the more defined roads. Like, for example, franchising, should you have the wherewithal to invest down that road is a more predictable pathway for you to take your limited resources and invest them down as a neophyte entrepreneur, because the franchise gives you a system, right? You just paint by the numbers and your probability of success is going to be greater. Same thing with government contracting, right? If you take your energy and you invest it down the pathway of government contracting, you're pointing at a customer that has a demand signal that we've identified as being as large as $1.3 trillion worth of spending in the future. But to Mr. Hill's central question, in both of those examples, you going after them from a collaborative perspective, right? Especially government contracting as an example, where you can resource yourself with a partner who has the capability and capacity. They have the past performance. They have the back office systems and procedures to complement your preference. That gives you a ability to take your superpower and make it instantly actionable in that space. And so let me say that another way for those of you who may be still stuck in the mustard. What Mr. Hill talked about was the power of collaboration, reducing the incline that you would experience as you pursue entrepreneurial opportunities. And what I said was, if you utilize joint venturing, which is a collaborative strategy, you could immediately acquire the capability, capacity, and past performance to meet the needs of the requirement that your customer has on their desk. It's that type of alliance building. It's that type of joint venturing that we popularized under the disabled veteran contracting movement that allowed us to help the community exceed the goal, right? We exceeded the 3% goal in the shortest amount of time. And what Mr. Hill is saying now is that we can use that as a foundational asset to create generational wealth, to create some of that goal that Mr. Hill was talking about a few minutes ago, so that we make the political, we make the academic, we make the social layers in the powernomics model possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, and what popped in my mind as you were saying that, it was that the conditioning, the conditioning within our community. If you don't know you're a slave, are you really a slave? And I mean, I know that's like a touchy thing, but I feel like that may be a lot of people problems. It's a lot of people problems that they can't get out their own way and realize that, okay, I'm not doing the thing the right way. The things that I was taught are not the correct way of doing things. It's not the proper way. So I feel as if a lot of people are missing their blessings because they don't know that they're a slave.
Yes, I mean, Harriet Tubman, said it back in the day. She's at least, allegedly reported to have said that she could have freed a lot more individuals, but they just didn't know that they were slaves. And so from a, more mature classical conditioning perspective today, you've got a lot of people that are conditioned to believe that this sheepskin that they got, right, put them on a trajectory to be able to create a 401k and retire in comfort and never have to worry another day in their life, only to find that agreement is being violated aggressively today. And so you've got retirees that are experiencing squalor, that are experiencing trauma because they didn't effectively insulate themselves with real wealth, right? They insulated themselves with income. In this particular season, what we're pointing your attention to is the fact that there is a true window of opportunity for people that wear my social uniform, that are disabled veterans, that have provided service to this nation, to utilize existing settled law to utilize or to create strategic alliances that allow you to capture your own generational wealth. I think that's as succinctly as I can say it. Looks like we've lost Mr. Hill, so we'll have to do a little editing to this one as he returns to the program. And I think I'll wait. I was going to give you guys some delivery on the upcoming Ability 2 report, which we are launching, but I'm not going to do that. Actually, I may take advantage of the universal opportunity that's being produced here for me to bring this one to an end. Till next time.